Can you believe that after like 5 or so years, we are finally getting an abundance of rookies in the sport again, and they all actually look like they'll do great in the sport? Well, I know in 2023 and 2021, we did get 6 rookies in total from those 2 years. However, when 4 of them are the fidget spinner, Mick Schumacher, who was more addicted to crashing than Richard Hammond, Nick DeVries, who couldn't even get up, and Logan Sargent, who was Latifi's biggest challenger, then I don't think they necessarily count. So why do I think these new rookies entering the sport will do well and not end up like the 4 I just mentioned? Well, it's because these rookie talents aren't like ordinary talents, or at least not for a while. See, there was a time period where the FIA heavily regulated rookie testing for the teams to the point where it was essentially banned, and the only testing rookies would get would be a short ass test masked as a filming day or something. However, recently, they have let up, so these rookies are absolutely loaded up with private testing and have a good understanding of not only the car, but the team they will surround themselves with. Plus, we haven't mentioned these guys' junior careers, since you have people like Antonelli and Bearman who just stormed their way up the ladder, people like Liam who is not only a great in feeder series, but also genuine series like Super Formula and DTM, and even with people like Doohan or Colapinto whose junior careers are maybe a bit lacking to Kimi, they still showed great talent and were free contenders in their championships. So with all these promising guys entering the sport next year who are unfortunately my age or younger, let us see who will do the best. But before we go any further, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock, and if you haven't joined yet, I would very much appreciate it since it would greatly help me and so we could fight against the FOM Devils. There will also be a big surprise when we hit 7,500 subs, so stay tuned for that. So enough yapping, and here is who I think will be the best rookie in 2025. Before we actually start talking about the drivers though, we have to see how I will determine who is the best. Since with Kimi in a Mercedes and Bearman in a Haas, you could probably look at the results and think Kimi will be the best since he has podiums and Bearman isn't since he only had a couple of points finishes. So to counter this, it's simple. We will think how they will do relative to their car performance, which basically means do they underachieve, overachieve, or do what's expected of them in the car they have. So, let's say Kimi gets a couple of podiums in a Merc, however Bearman finishes in the points in most races with several top 6 finishes. Then, I will be more inclined to say Ollie did better than Kimi. Also, I asked my community for their input, which you will see in the video, and subscribe if you want to take part in more videos. And also, this is purely speculation going off of their junior series results, so they may actually perform entirely different from how I say, or in other words, this is all my own opinion. So let us start with our first rookie, and the most talked about one is of course Andrea Kimi Antonelli. This portion is probably going to be the shortest one here since I have made a whole video about him and why I think he will do well in F1, but to basically summarize what I said there, this kid is special. He won everything there was to win for him and basically just took a speedrun route to F1, and who knows, maybe he could beat the world record set by Max for the any percent F1 glory route. Anyways, let's talk about how he will do relative to the car performance, and I think he will do good, however will make some mistakes along the way. And I say will because my main reasoning for this is his first couple of races in F2. Currently at the time of recording, Kimi is doing pretty well, since in that abysmal Prima car, he is contending for podiums in most races. However, I would say until Monaco, he was struggling since he was making mistakes like lots of lockups, incidents, and cooking his tires, as well as the spin in Australia for the sprint race, where he was fighting for the lead but spun and beached himself after pushing too much. However, like I said, he has found his footing, and the races where he is winning are brilliant wins, and almost every weekend is a joy to watch him race. But while he may be doing good, he is jumping in a Mercedes car, a front runner alongside George Russell, who is a fantastic driver. Except for when he isn't.
George
What's
with a
happened
right
to George Russell? Yeah, he's got a puncture.
Has he?
What the hell happened there?
You turn right into him, George.
So it's going to be a challenge for him, especially with the pressure. I mean, you don't just replace a 7-time world champion in your rookie season without being the next coming of Christ, and the F1 media are for damn sure going to treat him like that. But he does seem well so far with pressure, which does lead to a personality that most people like, since he really is just kind of a goofball underneath, so marketability shouldn't be a problem with him. So overall, I think he will struggle a little bit for the first bits of the season. However, once he gets fully settled in, I think he'll perform great and will certainly get a couple of podiums and maybe even a win or two depending on how good that Mercedes car really is. Next up, we have Oliver Bearman, and he is our second rookie, and while he is classified as a rookie, next year will only be his first full season, since we all know how this guy's been a super sub twice this season. I'm sure you don't need me to explain why this guy is good, since his junior series record is really commendable, especially considering his age, and in series where they did compete, he was often seen as equal with Antonelli, since you could immediately tell that these two were just filled with talent. Anyways, 2 years ago, he competed in F3 and was a title challenger at just the age of 16, compared to his peers who were in their late teens and early 20s, so this recognition got him a drive to F2, and his first full season will be nothing short of impressive. Obviously, like any rookie, especially a 17-year-old, there were inconsistencies. However, when he performed, he showed us all why he is the real deal, since I'm sure you've seen by now the pole lap in Baku, where he set pole with a car that had a broken steering and also won both races that weekend. Again, impressive. So obviously next year he's gonna win the title, right? Well, no. Things aren't smooth, since this man is 15th in F2 and isn't exactly making a case for himself through that. However, you have to be smooth-brained to think that this changes anything, especially when you look at his sub-performances this year. In Jeddah, the booty bandits got to Carlos, so Ferrari called on Ollie to replace him, and he did a stellar job considering he only had 45 minutes of free practice, and he almost got into Q3, and then would later finish P7 in the race. I would say this already secured him for 2025, but again, to those who are smooth-brained, he would race again in Baku for Haas this time after K-Mag was captured and killed by American forces for terrorism, so this time, he had 3 practice sessions to get ready at his best track, and in a Haas, he scored points and matched Hulkenberg, who is no slouch, and while Ollie did benefit from Nico disassociating from the race, he still matched him, and again, he just looked natural in an F1 car. Plus, he's pretty likable since he's funny without trying not to be, and doesn't seem like he has anything that makes him inherently unlikable. So to all those saying that he is bad because he is 15th in F2, I beg you to start watching racing, since I think it's something you would enjoy. So overall, I think he will also perform great with little struggle, since time in an F1 car for sure helped, along with his ability to learn quickly. Now for the least talked about rookie, Jack Doohan. To be honest, I don't understand why Doohan is not really talked about that much, since he really is a cool guy. I know this is a fresh wound for most, but I could see him becoming the next Daniel Ricciardo in terms of personality, since he's a funny guy who stands out amongst the boring people, but when the times call for seriousness, he can get serious and stand up for himself. But there is also another reason why he isn't talked about that much, and it's because he wasn't exactly that stellar coming up, at least compared to the previous 2 guys I mentioned. His junior career is by no means bad, but there were a few hiccups like failing in a couple of series, which got him dropped from the Red Bull Academy, and this would normally spell the end for most junior drivers. However, Jack is not like the rest. He kept his head down and locked in, and fought his way into F3 and eventually into F2, and along the way he made the very bold decision of signing with Alpine's Driver Academy. I call this bold because you have a genuine higher chance of winning the lottery than being an Alpine junior driver and getting into F1, since I want you to name me an Alpine or Renault junior driver that has gone into F1 in the past decade, and no, Oscar does not count, since he technically broke it the moment he signed for McLaren. See, you can't think of any. But now, Jack is the exception, since after a very unlucky season last year in F2 where he either fought for the win or had an engine failure, he was signed on as a reserve driver and did multiple tests for Alpine and showed them that he can cook, and now we can say that Jack Doohan will be an Alpine driver next year. Oh man, good luck to him, he's gonna need it. So overall, while he has had some hiccups along the way, he made it regardless due to his skill, and as shown especially in F3 and F2, that he has what it takes to lock the hell in and get a result. So I think he will do good in F1, however he may struggle with a little bit of inconsistency. Now for the newly announced rookie who's finally going to be in his first full season of F1 after 2 years of competing, Liam Lawson. I'm not going to explain who he is since you already know this Lightning McQueen idolizer, so let's get straight into his feeder series. And he was good at karting in one series, yada yada yada. Every single F1 driver had to be good at karting, so we enter the random ass series point in Driver's Road to Glory, and he would win in many series like in the Toyota Racing Series and Euro Formula Open Championship, as well as a one-off in International Formula 3 where he ransacked everyone and took everything that was on offer for him. Pretty damn good so far. So we enter F3 now, and we don't talk about 2019, but in 2020, in a grid stacked with Oscar Piastri, Théo Pourchaire, Logan Sargent, Pre-Wash, Jack Doohan, and many others, he had to make sure he stood out, and he did, since he would finish 5th overall in the standings, as well as take a brilliant win in the final round at Mugello. This attention would lead him into doing two things in 2021, becoming a DTM driver alongside Alex Albon and an F2 driver. First, in DTM, he would do brilliant since he became the youngest race winner in the series, and even though he had a bad spell in the middle bit of the season, he entered the final round of the championship leading it and looked set to win it. However, a certain South African man thought it'd be funny to ruin a kid's dream, so he did exactly that. Well, even though Liam lost through no fault of his own really, still, it was a fantastic showing from him, which leads us to his F2 stint. And he would start brilliantly since he won on debut and got 3rd in the feature race. Fantastic! He would only get one more podium that season. Yeah, he was crashed into or crashed out a whole lot this season, which of course killed the season for him, but he did show promise. So in 2022, he had to lock in, and he did that since now he had 4 wins and 6 podiums and finished 3rd overall. But instead of staying for one more year, he wanted out, and now we enter Super Formula. Super Formula is basically Japanese F1 for the small-minded people out there, and Liam would cook since him and Miyata duked it out a lot, but ultimately again, he lost out. So we have gone from F3, F2, DTM, and Super Formula, and not a single ring. See, this would be bad for most drivers, but there is a reason he competed in that many series. It's because he is really good, and more often than not just drags a tiny little rain cloud of bad luck with him, which explains most of his incidents. Keyword being most, and Red Bull saw this and made him their reserve driver for 2023, and when Daniel broke his hand from the #1 rookie error of keeping your hands on the wheel while crashing, Liam stepped in, and not only did he score points, but also outqualified Max. Pretty damn good. Now, we are here in the present, and Ricciardo has been dropped due to Red Bull breaking his spirit, and Liam is in again. And he seems like a happy guy, since something about him gives off positivity, and sure, he maybe can say some egotistical stuff, but don't all F1 drivers? So overall, after competing for the sister team of Red Bull in 2023 and 2024, as well as being a championship contender in most series, I think Liam will do great next year. Now for the bonus drivers, and we have Franco Colapinto and Gabriel Bortoleto, 2 South Americans gunning for the worst seat on the grid. Man, I thought to include them since I really think it'd be illogical for Sauber not to go for one of them, since as much as I want better for Valtteri, I feel like retirement is better, since let's be real, gambling live streaming F1 team is not going to be good in 2025, so why not give that seat to a rookie who can get accustomed to the life of F1? I'm not going to talk about Franco that much, but for those who don't know, he was promising in junior categories and got his big break in F3 and F2. Wow, just like everyone else. But he has replaced Mr. Freedom at Williams recently, and I, like many others, thought he was going to perform bad, but arguably, he is performing better than Ollie in his sub-performances. He genuinely surprised me, since this guy is so confident to go full kamikaze on everyone in Singapore and make it out alive. That right there is talent, so if he continues impressing, gambling live streaming F1 team would be idiots to let him rot on the sidelines next year. So if he gets the drive, I think he will perform great, which probably means like P12 in that car. Now for Bortoleto, and I got a feel for him. It seemed like he was secure for next year at Sauber, but then you enter Colapinto, who now took the limelight away from him. Anyways, again, good at karting and lower formulas, so in F3, where shit starts getting real, he got realer since he won on his feature race debut and just kept it cool and consistent to win the championship. No funny business, just results. And that's all I gotta say, since he didn't exactly dominantly win races, but he was always right there in the top 5, which led to a nice and consistent championship charge. Now we enter F2, and he is doing it yet again. He's being consistent in a season where everyone is killing themselves, and he is just picking up scraps and is now leading the championship after Aaron kept shooting himself in the foot and Hadjar cried his way to mid. He really seems consistent, and McLaren now, since he has been getting testing done with them, really wants him in a seat for next year, so if he gets the Sauber seat, I think he'll perform good, since again, consistent, but maybe not the absolute maximum of results to be had. Finally, after seeing everyone's rise and potential, who will be the best in my opinion? Well, to get straight to it, I will rank them and assign them a number 1 through 10 on how good I think they will do. In 6th, with our first potential rookie, I have Gabriel Bortoleto, and I give him an 8. Yes, they are that good. In 5th, our first official rookie, I have Jack Doohan, and I also give him an 8. And in 4th, our last potential rookie, we have Franco Colapinto with an 8.5. And in 3rd, I have Antonelli, since I think he has the highest peak out of everyone, but I think in his first full season, he will succumb under pressure at times, so I give him a 9. And in 2nd, I have Lawson, since I think he soaks up pressure like a sponge, so again, a 9. And the best rookie for 2025, in my opinion, is Oliver Bearman with a 9.5 due to his understanding of F1 cars and fast and consistent driving. But wait, is that a secret boss? Yeah, I left out one guy, and he is a little known driver. Don't really know if you guys heard of him, but his name is Fernando Alonso, and he will perform the best out of everyone because he is mine and everyone's daddy. 11 out of 10. Now let's see what the Duck community thinks, and you guys think very similar to me since you guys also think Bearman will be the best rookie, with 41% of the votes going to him, with comments saying how he's already proved himself. However, there are differences between you and me, like how you guys said that Jack would perform the worst, by a landslide too, with only 3% of the votes saying he'd be the best, and that Kimi and the other 2 potential rookies would perform similar, with 17% going to Kimi and 19% going to either Colapinto or Bortoleto. Interesting indeed. Anyways, this is fun doing this with y'all, and expect more of these videos of mine and your guys' input. And there is who I think will be the best rookie in 2025. Remember, just because someone is last doesn't mean they are bad, since an 8 out of 10 being in last is not normal, so please keep that in mind. Also, interestingly enough, in my research, I found out that every 2 years since 2019, we get an abundance of rookies with at least 3. Since in 2019, we had No Riz, Fumble, and Albano. In 2021, we had Juki, McGlassname, and Fidget Spinner. In 2023, we had Pastry, Debris, and Freedom. And now in 2025, we have Crash Antonelli, Wearman, Jack Lastname, and Liam Frotson. Coincidence? I think not. Keep an eye out for 2027 rookies. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like and subscribe since that would greatly help me make better content. And let me know in the comments who you think will perform the best. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.